Well, good morning, everybody. This is dear Mama Sal on a chilly Monday morning. And the word this morning is definitely drama. The reason for that is after I finished the broadcast last night, we ended up with some drama in the house because our septic system backed up again. We've got a problem. In our pipes, let's put it that way. And so we spent the night trying to deal with that, and then also spent the night trying to remember not to flush anything and not to put any water down the system, because if we did, we were going to cause an overflow. That's scary when you have that situation going on. And I've just left the house this morning with two very capable men trying to snake it out this morning. Wow, what a business. Literally. So that was very dramatic. We also had good news last night, which I want to just pass on for those of you who might not have heard. We understand that Robin's Lou is home already, which is amazing, after the operation he's had. Not sure how he got home, but I'm certain we'll hear. And so that is really good to hear, that everything's... I'm sure that the one thing they both could do with is a good night's sleep now. Let's hope that they both get it. So I'm just delighted. We also heard that Louisiana Laurie, I think, is on the 18th or 19th. She has to go back for her second operation, so we're wishing her well. And Paul will be having his meeting with his surgeon on the 22nd. So there's lots of drama going on, and I've probably forgotten people. If so, I'm really, really sorry. But there is lots of drama going on for everybody, and I think it's so sad that it's all going on so close to Christmas, because it takes away from, obviously, the Christmas time and the feeling of Christmas. How can you possibly get in the spirit of Christmas when you've got this sort of stuff going on around you? It must be very difficult. Now, we're going to put up a question for people. I'm wondering whether any of the viewers in Canada have any experience of trying to find a lost parent. I say lost, but we've got a viewer who is trying to track a birth father, and we sort of need help in the States, and we've got some, because apparently the last place that this person was known to be was in Maine back in the 60s, and I believe that he was in the forces. So I put up a call last night when we were doing the broadcast, and two of the viewers, Ashley and Matthew, both agreed to do what they could to help research. And I really am very, very grateful to you guys to actually take the time to do that. It's really good of you to take time out of your life and help somebody else in something they need to do for themselves. When I say for themselves, but they need to do it for their own peace of mind. And I really am very, very appreciative of that. It's part of why I love what we do. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I am not sure what the rules are in the States for, contacting birth parents. So if any of you have done it, does one have to get permission? Or this person actually may not even know that he's a birth parent. That's even more scary, I think. From what I could gather, there's a very strong possibility that he doesn't even know. So I just don't know if there are any rules around that, and if so, what they are. Because I think that would be pretty shocking news to hear 53 years after the event. And the only reason that the viewer wants to get hold of the birth father is just in case there's any medical history that they need to pass on to the children, which would be pretty important. I must admit that I didn't meet my birth father. He left when I was very young. I think I was 4 when he left. He just left one day and never came back. And of course, as a 4-year-old, I'd thrown a tantrum that morning and thought for the longest time that I'd created this problem, which is a terrible thing, but it is what happens. And it didn't matter how many people told me that wasn't true. You understand, perception is reality, and I knew I threw a fit and he walked out and never came back. So, water level way down. Wow. So it looks like somebody opened a sluice gate somewhere. The water level is way down. So, anybody got an experience of either being helpful to somebody else in this and has some information? Please drop us a note in the comments here, just so that we can pass them on to the person that's trying to find out how to do this. That would be very, very helpful indeed. Now, I know that another viewer had asked me to talk about fear. And owing to the fact there was drama in the house this morning, I forgot to check around what. And I know that she did tell me what she'd like me to talk about in terms of fear, and I can't remember. So I'm not going to talk about that today. I'm going to get a chance to have a look again and see what it was that she wanted me to cover. But I'd like to suggest, just in general terms, that fear, to a very large extent, is what we do to ourselves. Now, I could be sitting driving to work at the moment, very fearful that the whole system might not clear properly, and this is going to cost me thousands of dollars that I don't have. I could be very fearful of that, but why would I do that to myself? So I try not to do that anymore. And what I try and do is say, okay, fine, it's going to cost me for my share of renting the snake that we just got. But other than that, hopefully we can clear the line and all's good. I'm very thankful as well that I've got people in the house that have been through this before and know what to do and do it. So, I look at the positives of it rather than the negatives. So fear is one of those terrible emotions. Well, I've quoted him many times, but Dr. Jerry Jampolsky, many years ago, wrote a book called Love is Letting Go of Fear. So if you want to love your life, you need to let go of the fear in your life. That's basically his concept. So you've got to look at the things that you fear and change your thinking, because, as we said, perception becomes reality. So if you fear big green trees, for whatever reason, you are going to live a very difficult life if you happen to live in Canada, for example, where we have a lot of big green trees. Do you get what I'm saying? If you fear something, it has control. So some of us are fearful because we have phobias, let's say, of maybe flying or whatever it might be that you might have a phobia about. And I'm certain a lot of our viewers have phobias. Some of us are OCD about things like germs or stuff like that, and those are all fear-based at some level. Because you have a fear of germs, you keep washing your hands. If you have a fear of not having control, you will constantly be controlling your environment in some way. And that's a really interesting subject that came up on the broadcast. Wow, now that I think about it, we were discussing what is the difference between somebody being social, somebody being a flirt, and somebody crossing the line. And it was quite an impassioned discussion from a lot of people, because basically it ended up with, it to some degree depends on the people who are interacting on it. But in the middle of this, one of the viewers suddenly said to me, you know, your lampshade is crooked. And I said, is it really? And carried on. And then, you know, it was a case of, you know, your lampshade is still crooked. So I go, yeah. Now, obviously, there was an issue here about the lampshade being crooked. So after it had come up 3 times, I said, why don't I take you out of your misery and I'll move my body to shield the lampshade. But the person was quite confused why I hadn't got up and straightened the lampshade. Well, the reason I hadn't is because it wasn't worrying me. You know, I did not have the lampshade controlling my life at that moment, but obviously the person watching had an issue with it. For, you know, which I was quite sad. Imagine being controlled by a lampshade. You know, it's just like, really? And I've had this discussion before about, you know, people coming to my house and the phone rings when I'm talking to somebody, and they'll look at me and they'll go, your phone's ringing. Yeah. Well, don't you want to answer it? No. Well, it might be important. If it is, they'll phone back. Now, if I hear my phone ringing and seconds later I hear my cell phone ringing or something, I'm pretty sure that somebody's trying to get hold of me quite, you know, impassionedly, in which case I'll probably answer the cell. But, you know, it's just like, or I'll wait for them to leave me a message, and next time I go to the washroom, I'll pick up the message. So this is about you know, I just wonder how many of you have this problem where things not being perfect affect your life. And I know that different personalities have different issues with this. And that's always very interesting, and we were talking about that as well, where you have, you know, different personalities and their need for order, their need for conformity, their need for whatever, you know, is very different. So I thought it was a really interesting example of how these things go down. And this was not just a case of this controls the viewer's life, but now wanted to control my life with it as well. And it's like, no, you don't get to freak me out with this, because I don't get freaked by it. Now, what I said was that I may or may not, after the broadcast, go and straighten up the lampshade. I may or may not. Now that I think about it, I never did. Why? Because we had drama. What's more important than a lampshade? And then it got to the fact that even my Christmas tree was at a bit of an angle. Can you imagine? An off-center Christmas tree. Well, Christmas ruined. Christmas is totally ruined now. So, I'm trying to imagine what that must be like when you go shopping, or when you interact with society. If those sort of things really get up your nose, then it must be a very stressful life that you live, because the need for everything to be just so, even amongst the people that is really a little scary to me. But it is what it is. So what I'm trying to say to those of you who are listening to this or watching this is, be aware of people's wish to have you conform to their ways. Now, I'm not perfect, and I've done that myself. I've had people in my life where I've wanted them to do it my way. And some of you who've been around for quite a while know that one of my favorite quotes of being when I say to people, there's only one thing that causes me stress, and that's people. Not doing things my way. But I say it with humor rather than a real reality. Oh, there have been times, don't get me wrong, there have been times when I've really gone to people and said, you need to do A, B, and C. And meant it. I'm certain some of you have been in relationships and said, either you do A, B, and C, or else I'm out of here, or you are. And so I think there are times when we have those discussions where the situation has become intolerable. So, quite an interesting weekend of drama all round. At a time when the drama and stress will be building for a lot of people. I know that a lot of you haven't even started your Christmas shopping yet, and I'd now like to give you a shout out, because we now know that you do not bow to peer pressure, and you just do things on your own calendar, and you obviously are quite prepared to fight the crowds and do your thing. And if you are quite happy with that, it's great, really great. Today is payday, which means it'll be the last payday before Christmas, which makes life exciting. So, all I can wish for is that you minimize the drama in your life this week and be happy. That doesn't mean there will not be drama. That means don't go looking for extra drama, because it really isn't important. My house looks like a bomb's hit it, but the good news was I did manage to make some really incredibly good tasting fudge. And unfortunately, being me, I sort of got the base idea of it and then threw in some stuff, and So the chances of my being able to absolutely replicate it are zero, but never mind. It did taste good. Really good. It's actually more like a caramel than a fudge. You know what I mean? It was not hard, it was more a soft caramel. Oh, to die for. No, not to die for, sorry. No, really good. To live for. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day, and that there's very little drama, and that you've got all your shopping done, and this will be the calmest Christmas season of your life. Bye bye.